We are now live. Good evening, everyone. Anyone that's in, evening Fresh. Fresh is one of the OGs, by the way, Connor.
Hi, Fresh. How you doing?
He's you'll always see him in streams. He's always about good, positive vibes. So I guess we'll wait for it to pick up a little bit, but yeah, how you feeling about 𝗕𝗲𝗂𝘀𝗁?
Yeah, I think I've said it to you a couple of times about Adama. I am one of the probably few positive people around this signing. Like, I think he's not going in to be a starter. He is a kind of a player that, and I think Russ might have referenced this as well, and it's so true. Whenever we were playing against like Wolves or Fulham, and 𝗕𝗲𝗂𝘀𝗁 came on or was like warming up, I was like, this is gonna be a pain in the arse. Like, he's gonna be just some just bright spark. Like, we know his end product is not there, but like just him bombing along and causing a bit of mayhem, that's where I'm kind of thinking that will be something that hopefully the opposition teams won't be loving to see when he comes on, oiled up, ready to rock. Like, remember he claimed a couple of years ago he didn't go to the gym. Like, that man is like bodybuilder, like absolutely insane. Like, so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him cause a bit of carnage, cause a bit of chaos. Like, he's played a bit this year, I think. So should be fit enough. I worry about some of the other signings in terms of fitness, but he should be fairly fit, and he looks fit anyway. So I think he can be a bit of a handsome man. Bradley is claiming. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would completely agree. So we got a handsome man bombing up, covered in baby oil. What else could you want?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be scary for some players. I think. Yeah. I've seen a lot of. I posted a video on Facebook and X, and obviously I got the usual torrent of abuse. But on X, I get more abuse from opposition fans, which I'm actually here for that. Yeah. But one of them was like, saying, "Oh, you think you're going to get the best version of 𝗕𝗲𝗂𝘀𝗁? You're not. We've absolutely mugged you. We paid £2 million for him. I mean, in footballing terms, £2 million is not a lot. Do you know what I mean? No, I'd understand if we went out and spent 15 million on him, then yeah, I'd be fuming. But I reckon for $1 million, have him off the bench, and I mean, we only pay 2 million, I believe, if we stay up. So I'm not.
And yeah, because like the thing about him is that, as well as like, I think like there was originally, wasn't it, Wolves were looking, because the transfer seemed to slow down. It seemed to be a guaranteed, this is happening, and then it kind of seemed to kind of hit the skids, because I think they were looking for, like, was it 7 or 9 or something ridiculous? Yeah. Like, I think if we were going in at 7 or whatever the number was, I think then you might be like pumping the brakes a little bit, because you're like, he might be around for just the rest of the season. But I think for a quick potentially 2 million punt, I think that's fair enough. Like,
there's no arguing with it from my side, but obviously I've seen stuff today about Lingard possibly.
I've seen that as well. Like,
that's been on the card since it was mentioned a few months ago. I kind of feel like that was floated to see how the supporters would react to it, and now they've depleted the midfield, and then all of a sudden they're going to offer us like Lingard. It's just typical Sullivan. But yeah, I mean, of everyone that we'll talk about tonight, of all the bastards, for the right reasons, all those legendary bastards and all the current bastards in the squad, and all them terrorist bastards, every kind of bastard, the madmen, the biggest bastard in West Ham history is also the smallest bastard in West Ham history. That fucking chairman. Yeah. He needs going, but
he's a bastard in the non-positive way that we're going to be talking about today. Today we'll be talking about good bastards,
Yeah, exactly. And obviously I'm assuming, the title doesn't really give away much, but what me and Connor are going to do tonight is we're going to kind of run through our favourite bastards from West Ham history, and everyone after Evening Gaza. It's going to we're going to look at and fly evening, mate. We're going to look at some of them classic bastards, them ones, them. I've got a bit of a tier list here, and my tier list is basically broken up into the genuine menace tier. I won't name any names just yet. We've got the dark arts and shithousery tier, because I love shithousery, I love it. And then there's the absolute madmen tier, and then we've also got the brick wall, because there were some players who were just kind of like, ain't letting this go. Here we go. Look. We already know. Everyone already knows who's on this list.
But I was saying before that we kicked off there, I was like Ben is like, I think #1 𝗕𝗀𝘀𝘁 fan. So I was like, 𝗕𝗀𝘀𝘁 is definitely making an appearance here. And just on this as well, I noticed that Fresh is a Limerick man. He's using some Irish there, 𝗕𝗀𝘀𝘁𝗵. So he's a fellow Irishman. So I'll happily hear all of Fresh's takes tonight.
Limerick is a rough part of town. I reckon Tommy Repka would have a hard time keeping up with people in Limerick as well. I dated a girl from Limerick, and she was an enforcer. She was. That place was a bit. Bit
Have you been?
Went past very, very, very fast. The Irish Fields, they call it, don't they?
Yeah. We got a few more as well. Martin Allen, I think he'll be making an appearance, you would have thought.
Who's your let's get you kick it off. Give me one of your bastards. We'll play bastard top trumps.
Yeah, so like I'm so obviously, and I am glancing at my screen here because I have my notes here. So like there's some obvious picks, your Repkas of this world, your Dixes, the likes of John Moncur, of obviously Paolo Canio. I'm going to try it one. I think Arnie would be one of mine that I just love. I think Arnie's got a special part in my heart. He's got that kind of lunatic, a kind of mad energy. And I remember hearing stories of, I think, was it Nobes was talking about, I think they lost, 1-0 to Wolves or something, and he decided to have a go and dig out Arnie, and Arnie apparently went up to him, squared up big time, and players got involved. And then afterwards, I think Crest was saying Crest started laughing, I think, afterwards, kind of saying I'm Nose was like, what are you laughing at? He's like, you're fucking shitting yourself. So it's that kind of that kind of energy. And I heard though that Arnautovic is a real kind of fun guy, and a bit of a crack around the dressing room. But he just, when he kind of, that white line fever, when he goes across, he has that kind of sulky look as well when he's on the pitch sometimes as well. He has that kind of constant, I don't know, kind of, intense, kind of pissed off look to him. But he's always been one that I've kind of taken, and he's probably one that may or may not be on people's lists, because we've got obviously we got obviously got Psycho, we got Dix, as I mentioned, Hartson, Bonzo, obviously Martin Allen, the list goes on, but there's plenty there to discuss tonight, that's for sure.
We are blessed with bastards. Slavia Prague have just gone 2-0 up against Villa, by the way.
Oh wow,
is that Slavia? Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. We were blessed with a shower of bastards at West Ham. We've had some great bastards. Evening, Yardy. And this was my biggest problem with Arnie, to be fair. The way it ended was, and I think that was a problem with him. He was his own biggest fan.
Yeah.
But I've gone for, let's go attacker for attacker. I've gone for, where are we? I've got Craig Bellamy here. He's not as much of a shithouse, but he was just. I remember hearing that all he did was talk. He just never stopped talking. He was always in people's ears, winding defenders up, and then they'd eventually they'd eventually just lose their temper.
Craig Bellamy, like, you know, I think you're probably being too, like, I think he isn't. I think he's nasty enough. Like, I think you might be being a bit too kind to him, calling him, like, you know, I think he can be. He's got definitely a bit of a nasty streak to him for sure.
He was that generation of player though. Like, I feel like when we watch football now, you see the tiniest little knock and you're like, penalty. But back then, like, we're talking about, you know, in some cases, I mean, some of the shit I saw in, especially like Sunday League and stuff. I mean, Jesus, you do a prison sentence for it now. I remember watching someone. I mean, obviously that's the Sunday League is completely different, but I remember seeing someone run across the pitch and drop kick someone. It was like a funny mixture between football and wrestling, I suppose. But I mean, the way you used to just like remember that saying, like, put him in the stand. Like you'd always hear like Neil Warnock or someone, like the gaffers would always be like, right, go out there and just put him in the stand, teach him, like hit him early on and show him. You do that now, you'd be gone. Like, you're off. That's it. That's all there is, really.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I grew up in, like, watching, like, I was born in '85, so I grew up in the '90s, you know, and for the purpose of today's video, I went back and looked at some, like, you know, just '90s Premier, like, you know, like Premiership as it was then, Premier League action, like, you know, just watching some of the players we're going to discuss tonight, like, and like you would probably have, if it was like, if you just transport it into 2026, like, you would have multiple red cards per game. Like, the amount of like tackles that go in that don't get even a yellow, don't get a card, don't get a free, you know, it's a totally different game. And obviously I miss elements of that big time, you know, because it was a bit much more lawless. Like, you know, we obviously had, as an Irishman, like, you know, big fan of Roy Keane, you know, and he would be, you know, I don't know how he would operate today, you know, necessarily, you know, obviously he got plenty of red cards, but he would have got a whole pile more, you know. And he's the one that divides opinion now in Ireland, of course, because of Saipan. Haven't seen the film yet, but I will be tuning in at some point. I hear there's been some you know, poetic license taken in terms of the story, but it was one that was huge. Fresh will certainly be well across 2002 Saipan. I'm sure, if he's of that vintage, because yeah, that was like the biggest story in the world at the time. But yeah, he's definitely kind of a bastard for sure, in the best possible way. But obviously it cost him a place, I suppose, in whatever way you want to take it. But 2002 obviously cost him a place in the team because he's a combustible guy and had a go at Mick, and it went sideways. But yeah, he's one that always stands out to me, you know.
But that's what you kind of like, though. Like, you like to see it. Like, the thing is sometimes I look at the team and I think there's no fucking passion there. So at least when they're arguing, you know, what's the chances of, if you're in a high pressure work environment, what's the chances you're never going to fall out with the people around you? You're under pressure. And I mean, that's just in an office place or something. You know, you're not talking about being on a football pitch in front of 50, 60,000 people. Do you know what I mean? Like, you like to see a bit of passion, even in
I think, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think as well, like, you know, part of the reason why like today's conversation, you know, came out is because we don't have these kind of players like at West Ham at the moment. We don't have a guy who will, like, again, this is my last Roy Keane reference, like, you know, like, he'll be like, just go out and hit someone, like, you know, go out and just like crunch someone, like, and that will get the fans behind you, get your team, you know, riled up, like, you know, that we don't have that kind of player. We don't have someone who's gonna, you know, use with the dark arts, you know, go in and fucking, you know, dig someone. Like, we don't have that kind of person. I think that's why today's kind of conversation kind of came about, is because we would love a few of them.
We are seeing it a bit though with Tatty the other day, because I didn't really think about Tatty until last night, obviously in the group chat. But Tatty the other day with the yellow card and that, you know, when he was signalling to the ref to give him a card, like, you can see, and he does have, like, you can see he's a bit of a bastard. You can see he's going to wind people up once he
I don't
learns.
want to sound bad, but like he looks like a bastard. Like he's got
He
that
does
kind of
look
look
like
to
a
him, doesn't
bastard. He
he?
does.
You can kind
He
of
does look
tell
like
people when they look like he has that look. Like Pablo does not look like a bastard. Pablo
No.
looks like a lovely fella. You know, he looks like the salt of the earth. Now he could be a complete bastard, but he looks like the salt of the earth. And Taddy
Yeah.
could be a bastard, or could be the salt of the earth, or vice versa. But you know, I think that Taddy definitely has a bit of an edge. You know, some people hate, like, you know, the going, you know, getting the imaginary card out and that kind of thing. But it definitely shows that he's, you know, trying to, you know, get a bit of influence there. And I think he could be our bastard for the rest of the season. And not to get bogged down into tactical stuff for, you know, for today's video, but I know Pablo has his critics after the couple of games, but I think Tati and Pablo are going to have a big impact in the rest of our year.
Yeah.
Because I think the two of them, I think, you know, having that kind of, I know they're playing kind of, you know, one more forward than the other, but they are pretty much playing as two really side by side. I think that the work rate they show, I think they're going to be a big impact. And I think they're going to be a very positive influence in the rest of the season.
I think I said this to Anton earlier in the group. Well, I just posted it in the group anyway. But they look like, and I mean, obviously they've not clicked yet, but they look like they've played together before.
Yeah,
just their movement, the way they move around each other, they interchange. Like, it's just, I mean, their reading of the game is just immense. Anyway, anyone that's watched Tati play will see that. You know, he's always moving. He relies a lot on chemistry, and I can just see him clicking already. And I think I still stand by it. I guarantee you, he will score goals from deflections. It will be like a ball, just a loose ball in the area. He'll be there. He'll get on the end of it. Bowen will have a shot. It will bounce around and hit Tati. Traore will smash a ball into the box. Tati's going to find it because that's what he does. He's like a little bloodhound. He sniffs them out.
Yeah. So no, yeah, no, I've been impressed with what I've seen so far. I think he's got some good link up play. I think he could be a bit of a golden, no, like, you know, I was going to say like a rough diamond, but like, you know, bit of a coup maybe in a few months' time. You can be looking back and saying, you know, those Lazio fans that are laughing at us for buying him won't be laughing anymore, hopefully, you know.
Yeah, Joe Cole wasn't a bastard, was he?
He was naughty. What was so naughty about? Nothing about Joe Cole being naughty comes to mind.
The only thing naughty about Joe Cole is the fact he's a fucking Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
That
is true.
Craig Bellamy. No, you're right. Craig Bellamy wasn't that bad, but I didn't want to shoot my load on the first go around. I've got some hidden. I got some good ones in the chamber.
Yeah. So in your tier, like Craig Bellamy going after, you know, was it Risa with a golf club? Like, you know, that's kind of okay. You know, you got serious levels of bastards ahead of you.
Yeah, exactly. There's some. I mean, you can't compare him to someone like Razor.
Yeah, fair.
Who we'll get on to. Evening, guys. Steve Lomas yet again. I actually felt sorry for Steve Lomas because he wanted to fight, but his body just said no. Like he just kind of, I don't know. He broke. He had Weetabix knees, didn't he? I just felt bad for him. There was so much fight in the dog, but the dog was just tired and old.
No, I suppose, yeah. He would be in the mix. It wasn't on my list. Did he make it anywhere in your list? No.
Who's that? Sorry, Lomas. No. Unfortunately, as I said, we're blessed with bastards at West Ham. So it was kind of. I mean, even then, you know, some of them, some of the players I've got here, I just look at them and think, you know, I mean, when I was younger, my dad and his mates were always like, they were always talking to me about how you should, and obviously I'm a big lad as well, so it was like dark arts, always teach me dark arts, and they would teach me about players like what's his name? I've actually forgot his name now. One of the biggest bastards to have ever blessed the football pitch, played for Leeds, Billy Bremner. what an animal that was. That should have been put down. He was a rabid dog. But they were always kind of like telling me, and you know, I used to spend a lot of time. So funny story. When I was younger, there was some lads. This lad was bullying my sister, and I beat the piss out of him, and I got expelled. And I went home. My mum was like, "Right, fuck off to your dad's."
You got expelled. You got fully expelled.
Yeah, I got kicked. It wasn't my first offence, but I really I didn't want. My sister had just started the school, and I didn't want it to carry on, so I just thought I'd beat the piss out of him, and it will be all right. So my mum sends me over to my dad's. My dad's working; he's at a factory, so I just went to his local pub because that's where my dad always pops up. And his mate Rob was there, and Rob's there. He goes, "What are you doing here on a Tuesday night?" And I went, "Oh, I've been expelled from school." And he goes, "All right, your dad's working late, so I don't know what you're going to do." I was like, "All right." And then he just turned around to me and went, "We got Rotherham at home tonight. Do you want to go?" So we ended up. He took me to see Rotherham, West Ham Rotherham. But he would just sit there and just reel off names all the time. I'd be like, "Oh, that's a bad tackle. You think that was bad? You should have seen Mad Dog in his prime." Like it was like it's a different world of football. I mean, even the late 90s, you know, you'd see a lot more harsh tackles going in, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned Bremner, like he's before my time, but was he just absolute like a lunatic? Was he?
Oh, he was a psychopath. He was a if you and anyone else in the chat haven't seen the Damned United,
I have seen the 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗃 United, but I don't. It doesn't come to mind. Like, was he a big part of that? Was he?
Well, he was just Leeds enforcer. Like he was just an animal. He would just hurt people. He didn't even try to play football. He didn't even he was the epitome of dirty Leeds. He didn't even try to play football. Like I watch some of the shit now, I see it, and I have no idea how some of the players had the longevity with him in the same league. I've got no idea because Jesus, watching some of them tackles makes my shin hurt.
Yeah, and back then as well, like you didn't have, or you had, if you did, you had like very few substitutes as well. So like you'd be, you know, playing on like half injured, you know, you have to be carried off the pitch to go off really, because obviously back then the rules were so different, you know. Which
actually I've got obviously I've made some notes here because my brain just goes blank when I'm when I'm on here, my brain just goes blank. So I've got something here. Where is it? It was speaking about like the ultimate, you know, hard nut. I mean, we can't. I mean, I don't know how I've allowed us to get 23 minutes into the stream and not spoke about Billy Bonds, but
yeah,
Billy Bonds is famous. Like I've seen this quote I've read about him earlier. The Viking mentality. Apparently, he refused to wear shin pads except when he was playing against dirty teams like Leeds. He played through injuries and. Yeah, he had to have his head like in the bloody bandage, you know, the famous pictures.
Yeah.
But one time he got tackled so badly that there was a slash on his leg and you could see his bone through the slash. And he told the physio or the medic, whoever it was, just patch me up and fuck off. Like I'm going back out there. He played the rest of the game with it. And then afterwards, he didn't go to the hospital. He went to the pub. Like, I mean, Billy Bonds. Like that's. I mean, he's described here a different breed of bastard. He wasn't reckless like 𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗃. He was cold, iron-willed enforcer who made it his mission to make opponents and teammates fear for their safety.
That's what you want. That's a great, because that was one thing I was going to ask. Was like, what would you define a bastard as? Like, you know, is it someone who, you know, is a bit of a master of the dark arts, like, you know, or is it someone who just goes in and absolutely crunches people? Is it, you know, just like, you know, a lunatic, like, you know, mentality wise, like, or, you know, like we're talking about, you know, psycho and things like that. But I suppose maybe all these parts probably make up a bastard. He can be a different type of bastard, you know.
See, I think yeah, there are so many different kind of levels of bastard. Like you've got some players like Alvin Martin, you know, he was quite calm compared to some of the other people on my list, but he did, you know, he blew up against Arsenal one time. The referee missed like a handball, and he went fucking berserk. And you know, I mean, I read something earlier as well saying that the scariest thing about him wasn't his temper; it was the fact that he was just indestructible.
Yeah.
You know, there's that famous image of him. I think it was 1985, and he's in the white away kit, and he's just covered in blood. You know, and this is why I don't think Tomás Souček is a bastard. I think Tomás Souček is the nicest bloke in the world. I honestly, I said it the other week. Like Tomás Souček would do anything for the club. If they said to him after the game, "We need you to clean the toilets in the Olympic Stadium," he'd do it for the club.
Yeah.
But that bloke has absolutely pissed blood for the club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Souček is like he's just he like we're talking about like Tati and Pablo earlier, like, you know, without even knowing anything about Souček, just looking at him, you know, Souček is a nice fella, you know what I mean? He just gives off kind of nice guy, you know, and he obviously is like he is like what you would describe as like an incredible, when he does leave in a couple of years' time, whatever it is, that we will always describe as like an incredible servant, you know, to the club, like such a giving, you know, guy. He does have leadership, I think, but I don't think it's, you know, probably as vocal as you might want. Obviously, from an Irish perspective, we're playing 𝗕𝗀𝗄𝘁 as they call him now, I think, in our playoff game. So I'm hoping Souček doesn't put in an amazing performance that particular day, with the hope that we'll get Denmark or North Macedonia.
He is a bit hit and miss though internationally, but 𝗕𝗏𝘀𝘀 was one that came really close to my list, but not so much what he did for West Ham, but it was just the fact that famous day for Newcastle where he was having a tear up with
Dyer.
I don't remember who it was.
Kieran Dyer, wasn't it?
Was it Kieran Dyer? Yeah, I think it was Kieran Dyer. But he just
tearing lumps up. No, that wasn't it. Was that? No. Who was there was a Dyer fight. I don't know.
I've got a very, very, very super clanky keyboard. So if I start typing, it's gonna everyone's gonna know about it.
It was Kieran Dyer and 𝗕𝗏𝘀𝘀 that did blow up.
It was
double checked.
Yeah, I did love that. Billy Bremner, Johnny Giles, Norman Hunter, and the other. Yeah, and you know that is exactly where the term "dirty leads" come from. Absolute animals. That was my favourite thing about Brian Clough when he went in and he just told them, "Throw your medals in the bin because you've won fuck all." Like he was a bastard as well. Like he knew that shit. But speaking about managers, I've actually got. I thought I'm not just going to do the whole thing. I looked at some staff and I think Kevin Nolan was one. You know, he was a bastard on the pitch and off the pitch, and I also had to do a little bit of digging, and I had to have a look at John Lyall, because obviously he oversaw one of our most prestigious and successful periods as a manager. He is, you know, Mr. West Ham. But I thought back then to have such a bunch of I mean, honestly, the football players we had in those days were basically either going to be football players or criminals. Like they were just drunks who could kick a ball. Like it was fantastic. So I thought John Lyall must have been a bit of a bastard. And I saw someone on here the other day saying that he smokes 60 fags a game. He used to smoke. So I'd look at him, and apparently he would just give, like, but with Bobby Moore, right? Lyall decided that Bobby Moore was against his was past his best, and he didn't even give him a graceful exit. He just passed him out. Like he just literally just passed him out. And apparently the whole dressing room at the time were quite shocked about his treatment of him. But he was also very intimidating, and he used to go toe to toe with people like Brian Clough during like negotiations, doing touchline disputes and stuff like that. He's apparently very icy, and he apparently once famously told a referee exactly what he thought of his refereeing of the game in a voice that was like so calm that the ref didn't even realize he'd been insulted until he'd walked away.
Wow, Jay. Yeah. So, and people are saying here now, I don't know how true it is, but Alex Ferguson would ring John Lyall for advice when signing players. So, maybe he wanted to get advice on the kind of reprobates that he managed.
Yeah, Well, Ravel Morrison comes to mind.
Yeah, well, Ravel Morrison, I think he's kind of like almost like he's a different kind of character. He's more like there's obviously players players out there that are kind of outside of the scope of today's call, like in the sense that like there's some real bad eggs, and but Ravel Morrison's more like he just feels like a kind of a troubled kind of guy,
Yeah,
like he would be always like, I think he would just he did have a game and he would be in Manchester or something like that. He would be like, you'd find him like 150 or 200, 300 miles away. Like, he's like, I think he's just I don't know how, I don't even know what box to put him in. He's still playing, isn't he?
Ravel Morrison, I don't know if they.
I think he might be out in like the UAE or something. Is he?
I have no idea.
You think he might be in the second division? Here we go. He's playing for.
He plays for Jamaica, doesn't he?
He's playing for the Arabian Falcons, apparently, who are a team in Dubai in the UAE second division league, according to Wikipedia.
That is rough.
I don't know how many. Let's see. I was looking at his appearances. So for the Arabian Falcons in 25-26 season, appeared 9 times, and he's got 1 goal. So I don't know how recent those appearances were, but yeah,
it's quite sad, really, because he could have been fucking astonishing. He could have been amazing.
Wasn't it like was it in United, like academy and all the rest? Like he was kind of rated as like, this guy Ravel Morrison is like streets ahead of everyone. Like, he was like considered like the kind of best player they had. Like, but
I think Fergie's such a good. He was such a good judge of character. I think he knew.
Yeah.
Apparently, 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗧 looks like it could be happening. He when Fergie got rid of you, I mean, I heard a story about Fergie. One of the older players had a party one night at United, and they invited all the youth team. Fergie apparently went in. Well, I think it might have been Roy Keane grassed them all up. Obviously as club captain. And they all marched out, and Fergie stood at the door, and they said sorry to him, and he slapped him around the head every time. So, but yeah, as they walked out, but proper manager. We got this. Mark Hughes was a bastard. Mark Hughes was a nasty, but he actually seems like he's mellowed in his age though, because he doesn't give off that kind of. I think he's managing lower down the leagues at the moment, but he doesn't kind of give off that bastard manager vibe.
No, actually speaking, we're looking down the line of where Ravel Morrison is. I wonder if Mark Hughes is still managing these days.
He is. He's managing the lower leagues. I think he might be managing in the National League.
Yeah, I did hear his name crop up. That's what kind of got me thinking about it. But yeah, no, I think Mark Hughes. Yeah, that's fair enough. We've got a few others. Diego Costa, like, obviously, I think he had a bit of a falling out during the week with not Diego Costa, with Conte. Was there a bit of a war of words there with Conte during the week? I think there might have been. I heard about it on the way home today.
With Di Canio, yeah. He's what we got here? Mark Hughes is the manager of Carlisle United, who play in the National League.
There you
go. But I think he's doing quite well, actually. I can't see their thing here, but
Dennis Wise, that was one that we were chatting about this ourselves a few days ago. Dennis Wise, I think that's a fair call.
Oh man, it was so disappointing for me. I mean, do you remember when we see Dennis Wise on the train?
Yeah.
My missus, we were on our way to see Prodigy at Wembley. What a fucking night that was. And I see Dennis Wise on the train. I've got my missus and my mates with me. And I'm like, fucking hell, that's Dennis Wise. And no one knew who he was. And I went over to him and I was like, fucking hell, you all right, mate? He was just like, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we met 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗁 the same night. You know, like there was all these.
Yeah, 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗁, yeah, I remember him well, yeah.
There was all these. But yeah, Dennis Wise said, he was like, I said, oh, how do you think you would have got on in today's game? He goes, I'd never be on the fucking pitch. But then that was such a strange day. It was at Wembley Arena. So he was on the train at Wembley Park, and that was when we see Dennis Wise, and then got off the train, and there was all these Range Rovers blocking the road. And then we kind of come around the corner, and we was like, he's a fucking wanker blocking up the whole road with all these Range Rovers. And you just see 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗁 with all his like entourage coming out of Wenzel's with their little steak bakes or whatever. It was such a weird day. Such a weird day.
The most random encounter with a football player I've ever had is, and I want to preface this by saying that I do not support this individual at all. I was at a Conor McGregor fight in Las Vegas. Back when Conor McGregor was people liked Conor McGregor back then. Now not one Irish person likes Conor McGregor. He's an absolute disgrace on so many levels, and he's widely hated. But I remember I was at the Conor McGregor Aldo fight donkeys years ago, and I remember I bumped into Samir Nasri. And I never like kind of encountered like any like footballer before really, but I remember telling Samir Nasri, and I did have a few beers in me at the time, but I remember telling him that he was one of my favorite footballers, which is definitively is not, but I remember telling him that he was. So that was a strange encounter that I've had with a footballer.
I met Jack Wiltshire in a pub before he signed for us, and I said to him, are you coming to West Ham? And he's like, oh, I can't say anything. And then he just kept winking at me. And I thought, I turned around to my mate. I was so drunk. I turned around to my mate and said, he either wants to take me home or he's having a stroke.
I was about to say, the winking could be for some other reason, you know?
He's a lot shorter than me. But I just remember seeing him in a bar and just being like, yeah. I did that years ago. When I worked in a hotel, we used to have like players staying there who were on loan at Leyton Orient. Like we had a contract with Leyton Orient basically, and anyone that played for them who didn't have a house or was on loan, they used to stay at the hotel. And at the end of the season, Peter Ramage was there. He used to play for Newcastle.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Another animal. And he basically said at the end of the season when they were all going, he was like, right, come on, guys. We're taking you to the pub because, you know, you've looked after us, so we'll look after you. And he brought one of the girls a large red wine, and she was going, ugh. Like, she just said, get me anything. Like, and he brought her back red wine, and she was like, oh, I'm not drinking that. So he just necked a fucking large glass of red wine and then cracked on with his pint. And then we went to a bar in Loughton. I don't remember the name of it, but it was on like a hill at the top of the high street. There's like a Prezzo or a Zizzy there. We went in there and it was just full of, there was Andy Carroll in the back room, and I was just shouting abuse at him because he was playing for West Ham at the time, and he's injured, but he's in the pub getting pissed. And then his bouncers told me where to go very quickly, his security. And then Ollie Palmer, who I think now plays for Wrexham.
He did play for Wrexham recently. Yeah, I don't know if he still does, but what was Ollie Palmer up to?
He was playing for Leyton Orient, and it was the season they got relegated as well, I believe. And he was outside smoking, and I just went out and fucking laid into him. I was just like, do you know what I would give to be in your situation? And you couldn't give a fuck. And he was just like, yeah, all right, mate. All right, mate. And I was just like, no, not all right, mate. You're standing out here smoking cigarettes. You're on the piss. You've just been relegated, you fucking wanker. I was just going mental at him.
Wow, Jesus Christ.
But in the end,
tell him where to go.
It was strange. Well, I had one of my other friends with me, Jamal. He's like 7 foot tall. He's a basketball player from Canada. He used to play for the London Lions, and he started a fight with a drug, like the resident drug dealer in the club, and then we just decided it was time to go.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
It was yeah, it
I
was
see a few mentions of Graham Souness as a bastard. I remember, not remember, but I was one of the stories that's always told in a podcast that I listen to is, I think he was the Galatasaray manager, and he plants the Galatasaray flag in the middle of, I think it was Fenerbahce, in the middle of the pitch. There's like an iconic image of him, like, planting the flag.
Yeah.
So I think that was that's pretty impressive stuff now, in fairness to him. I know he's got some interesting takes and he's not really on TV as much anymore, but that was pretty iconic stuff from him, in fairness.
It was Razor Ruddock. Again, he used to play for the veterans team at the club I used to play for. And I was cocky. I was a cocky little goalkeeper, mate. Like I said to you the other week, I got in a lot of trouble before for smoking a cigarette while I was on the pitch and having I was drinking. My dad gave me a can of beer and I was having a swig on a beer while I was supposed to be playing. But we used to play inter-club friendlies at the beginning of the season, and we played against the vets. And I said to Razor, every time he come near me, I kept on going like, I was a lot smaller than I am now, but every time he used to get on the ball, I used to be like, "Oh, I was roll back the years, fat boy," and stuff like that. Like I was trying to wind him up, trying to get into his head. And he said to me, he was like, "I'm going to fucking hurt you." And then I was just like, "No, you'd be all right." They got a penalty, and he basically just fucking blasted this ball at me, broke my finger, just absolutely. He didn't even try. Like he broke my finger. And I had to try and firm it as well for the rest of the game. I only had training gloves on, so they didn't have like finger savers or anything.
They don't have the things at the back, yeah.
Yeah, and I had to try and firm it because the whole game he was like, "Oh, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." But yeah, he was a right laugh. He was a right laugh.
I'd say he's an all right guy though. Is he? He seems like an all right kind of guy.
Do you know what? Yeah, after the game he got the beers in.
Yeah.
Like he would always get the beers in after the game. Like he was really I mean, this comment pretty much sums him up from ''𝗪𝗀𝘀𝘁. He was crazy, and I do feel sorry for him because he was in a real shit place. Like he mentally, the drink and everything. It was just he needed help that the world didn't realize existed at that time, and we all kind of just thought he was funny and that he was a laugh and he was one of the lads, but really he was like really struggling mentally, and it was really sad. I'm happy now he's kind of realized where he's at and he's sorted his life out a bit, and he's got the right help and stuff, but back then it was difficult for men. I mean it's always difficult for men anyway, but it was difficult back then for someone like that. You couldn't just go to your mates and say you felt down. Do you know what I mean? So I've got massive respect for Razor because he was demons.
Yeah, 100%. And like the culture back then was so different as well. Like there was literally the drinking, boozing culture around like football was massive, and obviously that's ended in recent times. Like but like back then, like it'd be going to the pub a couple of times a week. It'd be very hard to kind of knock something like that on the head back then, and as you say yourself, there was no support in place. There wasn't this kind of there wouldn't be conversations you could necessarily have, and it's obviously affected loads of footballers over the years. Obviously now included, it's not a problem that's gone away by any means, but I think there's probably more support in place for players like that are clearly struggling. We've seen it. For many players, like, even there's players in Ireland, of course, as well. People be familiar with Paul McGrath. Obviously, he had long-standing troubles with the drink, but it was an incredible player, amazing player for us. And, one that, he's had some iconic performances for the team, like, in USA 94 against Italy and things like that. But yeah, there was obviously a lot of players back then that struggled in a big way,
Yeah. And it's good now that there's support, but I mean, obviously, speaking more recently, we got Paqueta, who's literally just fucked off to Brazil because his mental health. His back's fixed though.
Yeah, How do you feel about the Paqueta? Like obviously he's on his way. It's done deal. How do you kind of feel about that whole thing?
He would be on my list, really. He's a shit ass. He is a shit ass. Do you know what? I just wish it didn't happen the way it happened. Like, giving it all this shit, kissing the badge at the beginning of the season and saying we'll go again one more season, because we all knew he was going to go one
Yeah,
more
absolutely,
season.
yeah.
But then to just turn around halfway through and go, do you know what? I haven't got it in me. Like, fuck off. Because we've been paying your wages and we've been getting 10% of the player you are for the last 2 seasons. And, when the FA finished this thing, again, it's the same as the referee thing, the VAR thing. Like, they say sorry. We lost out on 80 million quid.
I know. Yeah.
Who's gonna? Where does that come from? The FA just go, oh yeah, we found out. We realised we've dragged this on. We realised that he's not actually guilty, and fuck you, basically.
Yeah. I thought like this season when he got cleared in July or whatever it was, when he got cleared, I was like, okay, we'll get one more season out of him, and he's going to be shackles are off, his head will be clear, he'll be brilliant. And we saw a few flashes, the couple of goals that he did get, like I think that was the Chelsea game, well, like where he was doing a lot of badge, like this stuff. Obviously, we got the other game. I can't remember. He scored a goal, and he did. Was it a penalty? Maybe he did the whole phone, throw the phone away, kind of thing. So he made those kind of gestures, but he still. They were like small flashes of the player that we had 2 years ago, and I'll thank him for Prague. The pass to Bone, I suppose, and other things like that. But like, to be honest, like like he scored some great goal against 𝗕𝗀𝗃𝘁 and things like that. Like there was some great moments, but to be honest, I don't think he'll ever be looked back on in 15 years' time, and people will be like, they'll remember the story, they'll remember the betting scandal, they'll remember some of the moments that he made, but I don't think they'll go down in West Ham kind of folklore as a kind of a cult hero or anything like that,
He'll just be one of them players that played for us. He won't be. Aston Villa have just gone 3-2 up, by the way. They were 2-0 down on this side of the stream. They've just gone 3-2 up. Yeah, he won't. But right, so I've kind of put together an 11 of bastards. So if we just run through them and let me know if you've got someone you think could challenge that position as well, Connor, because some of these aren't set in stone. But we're going to start off with this man, Ruddock and Paqueta.
Yeah, he was my choice for the goalkeeper role as well.
It was between him and Adrian, because the way Adrian threw that glove down when he took that penalty, that was
just baller. That was just like, as people say nowadays, isn't the big thing aura? That was an aura like moment. Like that was just aura farming. I remember watching that big time, like like that was just iconic.
It was, but he was a nice guy though. Again, wasn't he? He wasn't.
Yeah, no, he's too nice. Like, yeah, he had that kind of moment, and it was something else. But yeah, I think Ludo was probably more in the mold of what we're looking at for this evening.
Yeah, he for me he was a goal. Like Ludo was a goalkeeper in a period where if you went in the penalty area, whether you was a goalkeeper, defender, or striker, you were going to get hurt. Like it's just the way it goes, and there was one time when he like went absolutely crazy. Well, he didn't even go crazy. He just did it. It was scary. Peter Beardsley was trying to nick the ball off him after the whistle, and instead of like having a go at the ref or anything, he just dropped the ball and just towered over Beardsley and physically just picked him up by his shirt. He just
dominated him in a big way.
Yeah, and apparently Beardsley said afterwards that it wasn't. It was the fact he was so cold that scared him. He just looked in his eyes,
dead behind the eyes, like like scared the hell out of him.
Yeah, he just looked like he just knew he had to back off, And I mean, Ludo did have that his frame. He could just delete a striker, couldn't he?
Was he
just
6'5" or something? He was a big like absolute monster.
Yeah, he was absolute lump, absolute lump. But you know, apparently, when he lost his temper, everybody felt it, and you know, apparently in training, they wouldn't even look him in the eyes. If he lost his temper during training, they would just boot like eyes on the ground, because they know that they'd fucked him. Then there was one I remember hearing. I mean, I think what was his name? The other goalkeeper, the one that we got from City, played at Celtic last season, Joe Hart.
Joe.
There was a thing where Noble was getting Declan Rice to wind him up, and he was just like taking the piss out of him and like thinking him or something. And apparently Joe Hart chased him across the training ground. He was saying, "Don't fucking do it, because you're going to get in trouble in a minute." And Noble was like, "Go on, do it." And he did it again. And then Joe Hart just fucking gloves off and chased him around the training ground for half hour.
But like, if I was in a scenario, right, and I was if Ludo was coming for me, right, and I also had Joe Hart coming for me, I would be way more scared of Ludo than Joe Hart. Like, I think Joe Hart, to me, like that, the scene you're painting to me sounds, it's almost like a Benny Hill scene. You know, like I don't think there's any kind of like, I don't think Joe Hart has that kind of intimidation factor, even though he's obviously a big lad. He's, you know, he's obviously, you know, would obviously bash me, but like, you know, I just would fear Ludo 100 times over than Joe Hart.
100%. And the other thing, the reason I've got him on my list as well, the main reason I've got him on my list is because he was the right kind of bastard, because he would often just direct his anger at his own defenders. And we could do with that right now. Because Areola's been putting in a shift, but how often do you see him losing his bollocks? Like, the team, the defenders owe him money this season for the clean sheet
100%
he's lost.
But I don't think anyone in our back five is vocal, really. You know, like Areola doesn't talk. I don't think, like, well, Kilman doesn't talk. I don't think, like, Mavropanos, does he talk? Todibo, does he look like a guy that would be screaming and roaring? I don't think so. Our wing backs, I don't think, you know, Arman Basaka, he's got lots of experience, but doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would be, you know, digging out his defense if he was left short. I think, obviously, Juff and, you know, well, I think our other left back, you know, just too young. Like, I don't think, you know, would be making, you know, kind of, I just think our back five unit seems very, just gives off the vibe of being a very quiet back five. And I think if we had some kind of really vocal, you know, the likes of your Schmeichels, your Ludos of this world, Striky is the kind of you know, type of goalkeeper that will be roaring instructions / abuse to his back four. And I just don't think Areola gives off that. I think a lot of our players would fall into the category of leading by example, but not leading by, you know, like our leadership team of Souček and Bowen and all the rest. They seem to be leaders by example, not leaders by instruction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I feel like we need someone to, we need an enforcer, we need a general, and that's why I wish we could get Alvarez back.
I mean, that just came up this very second with Traj. Like, like he's the kind of player, like, you know, that will get stuck in. Like, he'll get a yellow card. Well, you got, how many yellow cards do you get? An unbelievable amount. But like, he's the kind of player that might, you know, stick in a challenge, get a niggly challenge, do the cynical foul that might have helped us an awful lot, you know. And I wish we had him for the run in, to be honest. But
we could do with that. We could do with that right now. That's the most frustrating thing about the team is that what we really need, we already have, but we've lent him to someone else.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But he is a bastard.
Not to get sidetracked, but speaking of players that we have we've loaned out, what's your thoughts on JWP going to Burnley today?
I mean, it pisses me off that we're strengthening opposition and we're paying some of the wages. But as someone worked out someone pointed out to me earlier on Facebook, because I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. I'm I can be wrong. I have that capability.
Surely not.
Yeah, apparently so. They have got a lot of big games against teams around us, so strengthening.
That's what I'm thinking. Exactly. I know where you're going with this, and I think the exact same.
It's one of them. I don't know. They've still got a lot of work to do, and James Ward-Prowse doesn't win games for them, But
he won't play. He wouldn't really play for us. I know he's on the bench last week, but I think I think we could I don't think Burnley are in. If Burnley are our rivals, we're in a bad position. I don't think Burnley should be our relegation rivals, because I think they should be realistically cast adrift. And I think that if they can chip away, if he can score that Beckham equaling goal, or is it Beckham to beat Beckham or to equal Beckham?
I think it's to beat him.
If he can get that for I don't know if they've got games left against Forest or the likes of, or Leeds or whoever. If he can do that day, I'll be cheering him on,
Well, Leeds and Burnley had a tight rivalry last season, so I'm hoping, Scott Parker knows what to do with them. But time will tell. We need to get signings in, otherwise it won't matter anyway. They could finish above us.
That is true. That is true. I see you've put your team. Is that your team now that you've popped into the the chat there?
Just whacked it in there, so it's come
up. Might as well go through. We've got a couple of minutes left, so you might as well go through your team there.
So Ludo, we got obviously your man Tommy Repka, because he's a psycho, and he's violent. He's violent. It wasn't just a foul; it was like a 15-minute masterclass in aggression. He played like he was trying to tackle the opponent's soul, not even their body. One time he got sent off and started trying to fight the other team in the dugout, it's crazy, and then obviously I think I said to you earlier about this quote from his book. I have a beast inside of me. Sometimes it sleeps, sometimes it wakes up. And when it wakes up, I don't know what I'm doing. Tommy Repka. He's kind of like Max Kilman in the sense that he doesn't know what he's doing, but for different reasons.
Yeah, but in a much more terrifying way. Maybe not terrifying. Well, Max Kilman can terrify us defensively, but this guy he's more terrifying me, kind of more physically.
Yeah, a lot more terrifying.
I know. I want more terrifying that way. Max Kilman just, he looks like he's had his soul taken in recent years. It looks like his soul has left him. Repka might have taken his soul at some point. They might have had some crossing, and Soul Reaper Repka just removed Kilman's soul, and he's just left just a flesh lump with two eyes.
Oh, barely even a flesh lump as well.
I know. He's just. I just. There's something wrong with Kilman. There's something's amiss. I don't know what it is. Something's gone badly wrong. But anyway, I'm getting in the way of your list again with my random sides.
No. That's what this is about. That is what this is about. We've got the man there, Billy Bonds. The late Billy Bonds. I don't even really. There's some players on this list that I don't even need to explain, and I don't feel like he's one of them. But the fact that he was such an animal and such a legend, he epitomizes, for me, our club. He was a middle-class hero.
Yeah.
He was just a violent individual.
Yeah, and that was the era he was in as well, that was just par for the course, I suppose as well, but obviously an icon, someone that, would be, no matter what list you're building West Ham related, you've got to feel like he's going to be in every list nearly.
Yeah, he has to. You could go in the best 11 players. He's on it.
Yeah,
you go the best 11 leaders. He's on it. You've got everything. He's there. He's there. But yeah, he's his mission was to make other people scared, and he did it well. He did it well, and it weren't even that. He held the team to a standard as well. So it's not even just the opposition that needed to be scared of him. It was it was the rest of his team. 𝗲𝗚𝘀𝘀𝘁, great name. Psycho.
I like the avatar as well.
It looks like a 𝗕𝗀𝗃𝗃 advert, doesn't it?
Yeah. Works 50% of the time every time, isn't it?
But yeah, I've got Psycho on the bench. Next up, we have got gosh, where is he?
Is it Dix?
No, we've got Alvin Martin.
Oh, there we go. Yes, missed that one.
Alvin Martin. You know, they used to call him Stretch. That was his nickname. He, you know, as I said, you know, he lost his temper big time at Arsenal. And again, it was the fact that he's indestructible that makes him scary. You know, he said that the 1986 team had some good footballers with a bit of naughtiness in it, and that was spot on for me. You know, I mean, as I already said, you know, he'd go off with stitches in him, covered in blood. He didn't complain. He kept heading the ball. He must have left more blood on the pitch than he did in his body at some stages. You know, he was an absolute legend for me.
Yeah, I'll have to look up a bit more of him. Like, he's one that I'm aware of, but not as across him as yourself. You're very much a kind of a historian. You know about all these, you know, players going back. You know your stuff. It's
the like over here is kind of different how you get into West Ham, because my dad was a Man United supporter, and he wanted me to be a Man United supporter, and he was Irish and he loved George Best, so he was like, oh yeah, you know, Man United, and that was the first place he stayed. So it was he was like, oh yeah, you're a Man United supporter and you just do what your dad says normally, didn't you? And then my aunt one evening said to my mum, I've got a spare ticket to West Ham, I'm going to take Ben. And she was like, all right, no worries. And I got in there, and I could just being in the bowling, I knew straight away. And from there on, like, it was going to the football with all the older lot.
Yeah.
And they would make sure I knew about my history. Yeah, they would make sure that I knew, you know. And you know, it's one of them. I mean, I don't want to get relegated. But some of the best times of my life I had when we were in the Championship or you know, Division 1. I used to love those days out. But so I know these players because it's like my dad's mates always used to buy me old programs. I was into collecting programs, and then like videos, the VHSs of like the old seasons and stuff like that, and just show me. It was kind of like they were trying to sell it to me. They were trying to say, look, it's shit, but it's not always shit. Sometimes it's all right. You know?
Yeah. But that was how I got into it as well. It was 10 years old. I went to a random West Ham game, kind of on by luck more than anything, and it was very much the same experience. It was in the Bow Lane. It was like, this place is amazing. The atmosphere is crazy. It was like you're on top of the pitch. It was just, the atmosphere was electric. I never experienced. It was the first Premier League game I've been to. I've been to a few League of Ireland games back home and a few international games, but this was a whole different ball game. I was like, this is insane. And then from that moment on, it was just like, right, you know, I'm an Irish fella. It's 95. Everyone at home is supporting Man United. Yeah. I have no connection to United myself. Why not support the team that I've actually gone to see live? And then it kind of just grew from there. So that's how I got into it. Very much similar to yourself. And also the Man United connection, because every single person in Ireland back in the 90s supported United, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of them things, though. You do know when you walk in the ground, you just know.
Yeah, 100%.
You just get that feeling. But there's, while I wrap up the list, there is 125 people watching and only 26 likes. So if you could hit that like, and if you're not subscribed, also please subscribe. Just drop us a comment, even if you want to call me a wanker. Drop a comment. I don't mind.
Don't say that. Let's all be nice. Let's keep it civil, guys. Okay, so no Ben's a wanker, please, on the channel. Okay, you know.
It is true, yeah. My missus says it's true.
Well, listen, she's allowed to say it, you know, but the guys in the comment section are not allowed to say it, you know. She knows. She knows.
We've got next up is, another man who needs no introduction. Absolute beast. He was managing until recently in Malden. He was managing, and his legs are so bowed apparently now. It's from the the cartilage must just be fucked in his knees. But I mean, I think one of my favourite ever moments with Julian Dicks was when Twitter was first a thing. I used to see him on Twitter, and I said to him, I tweeted him saying, I always wanted to go in goal against one of your penalties, and he just tweeted me back saying, you're a fucking madman. And that was my little oh, fucking hell, Julian Dicks, you think I'm a madman? Because if Julian Dicks thinks you're mad, then you must be certified.
Well, yeah, you're literally, that's time to get what's the word? I'll come to me, but yeah, essentially it's men in white coats come and collect you,
Yeah, you need to be sectioned.
Sectioned. That was the word I was looking for. If Julian Dicks calls you lunatic or crazy, you need to be sectioned immediately.
Oh, he's I think I remember John Frayne when we were playing Birmingham. There was a heavy challenge, and Julian Dick, he didn't even look at the referee, just stamped on his face. He's just, he had to have stitches and everything. And I think Dick's already knew that he was off, and he said when he was asked about his disciplinary record after the game, Dicks famously showed zero remorse, essentially saying if you kicked him, then he'd kick you back twice as hard. And
good way to live by, I suppose. It
is, but again, a quote from the man himself: "I love the tackle. If I caught someone and they went up in the air, it gave me a buzz. Is that wrong?"
I don't think it's wrong, Julian. I don't think it's wrong at all.
No, it's lovely. Here for that.
We should try and we should try and take some of these quotes that you've got for these players and apply them to our own personal lives. Maybe when I go back, I'm back in the office next week. I'm on pat leave currently. Maybe I'll take up booting someone in the air and just taking pleasure from it. Maybe that'll be my first step back.
Yeah,
boot my manager up the arse like Father Ted style.
He's kicked Bishop Brennan.
Bishop Brennan up the arse. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna take the booting, I'm gonna go booting Bishop Brennan up the arse like Julian Dick style. So really, really cause some damage.
We could do with some of the players from that over 75 Priest team.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I played for a Super League is a big thing in Ireland. It's like our equivalent kind of to we have a Sunday league, then we have casual Sunday league. But I used to play for a team called Father Romeo Cincini's. Let me get this right. Father Romeo Cincini's Memorial 11. And Father Romeo Cincini is the guy, the Italian with the quiff.
Italian guy from the show, yeah.
And he takes the penalty against Jack, who's being controlled by Father Ted's fake arms, and he's in the wheelchair. So we were named after Father Romeo. So we went by Father Romeo's, but Romeo Cincini, yeah. So that was a great episode.
Oh, I love that. That is brilliant that you even called your team that.
Yeah, honestly, I'd watch that episode again tonight now, to be honest. It's so good.
I could probably see me ending up watching Father Ted now. I absolutely love it.
It's an absolute classic. He was just so good. I know we're getting sidetracked again. My granny, right? She's the most religious person in the world. And when Father Ted got really popular, everyone loved it. And I remember I think my dad was like, have you watched? She was. Oh, so what happened was she was flicking around the channels and she landed on this show, and it had a guy in his. It had obviously Father Ted Crilly in his thing. She's like, oh, this is priest stuff. I'll leave this on. I think she called my dad the next day absolutely appalled. She's like, Jerry, there's this show on TV. It's taking the piss out of priests. You've got it. You can't watch it. It's on Channel 4. You can't be doing it. So I remember that was we had to my dad had to pretend that he was appalled by Father Ted, but secretly think it was the best thing on TV.
Oh God, I absolutely loved it. I mean, Father Jack is brilliant, and to be fair, if we do get rid of Areola, I think we may well be ending up with a Father Jack controlled by a Ted.
Yeah, the fake arms,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I met Father Jack actually once, and like, he's actually quite a posh like guy in real life. It's kind of funny, like, so he's actually really well spoken. But obviously in the show, it's just like he literally
It's
just
crazy, isn't it? Because one of my friends was talking about Mrs. Doyle, and apparently there's a film where she gets her tits out. And my mate
I
was
haven't
like,
seen it.
yeah, I can't remember what film it was. My mate was telling me, he was going, "Oh yeah, I've seen her tits." I was like, "What?" She looks younger now than she did in Father Ted, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
So maybe
yeah, exactly. Like Mrs. Doyle, like, you know, not much to look at anyway, but the way that she was made up and that anyway. But yeah, good to see we got a couple of. Well, I'm not surprised. Fresh is a Father Ted man because obviously fellow Irishman, he's well across it.
the Chinese are
Where
great.
were we? We were. How did we get onto Father Ted? God knows. We were talking about Julian Dix, weren't we? We got into Father Ted. Don't ask me.
Yeah, Julian Dix is an animal, but we've also got like his counterpart here. You know, Mad Dog Martin Allen. What an animal he was as well. There was a match in 1989, the year I was born. So obviously this is a VHS. I was saying earlier about setting the tone early on in the game, and he went out and within the first few minutes he launched a tackle so high and late that it wasn't even an attempt on the ball. It was just an attempt on the man's life. To be fair, it was just unreal. It was just unreal. And then when the ref blew the whistle, he didn't apologize or anything. He stood over the other player and just kind of shouted at him as if he was the victim of this tackle. It was like, "Oh, you've got in the way of my fucking boot," sort of thing. Yeah, he was very, very intimidating.
That in a big way.
I've been to Aran Islands where they have a tiny caravan.
Oh yeah, that's where Graham Norton was. Graham Norton came out from that. Graham Norton was this like was a priest in the caravan, and he would be doing the Irish dance, like, let's do the river dance, and like, you know, he made 2 appearances in Father Ted, and he'd be like, Janine Riney, she was out until 11:30. Like honestly, he was my favorite character. But yeah, he was big in that. And then I don't know how he pivoted into TV presenting, but yeah, he's an icon, shall we say.
My wife just says it sounds so much better hearing an Irishman do it. Essentially, we just go through phases of watching Father Ted of an evening, and then our house just consists of really bad Irish accents, just quoting Father Ted for a couple of weeks, and then we just go further on the rotation. At the moment, we're on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but Father Ted will come back around again soon.
We're on the US office. We like, as I mentioned, we're on pat leave, or I'm on pat leave, Mrs. on mat leave. So we've been watching the copious amounts of the US office. We're actually on the last episode today, so we watched the entire series over the last couple of weeks. So that's what we're doing. So we're on the last episode, as I said. So we might have to draft in Father Ted now next.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a shout. I think the next up might be Only Fools and Horses.
I've never watched it fully. I must admit, I must get into that.
Watch it; it's brilliant. We've got Andy Malcolm, Andy Malcolm's a bit of a wild card here. He's from the 1950s, but he's who made famous. Like a lot of people that let them know early on comes from Andy Malcolm. He kind of he would have trademarked it now, I'm sure, in today's world, but he basically was the creator of the 5-minute foul. You know, he'd wait for the first ball to whoever he was marking and just fly him with a challenge that was 100% bone and 0% ball.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't doing it to try and get a red card. He was doing it so that other players spent the rest of the game kind of looking over their shoulders. And obviously you had those big, heavy leather balls. So if you gave someone a dead leg, they ain't going to be able to get pace on it. And people used to refer to his tackles as the Malcolm tackle.
Yeah, like a proper reducer job.
Yeah, he was a hard bastard. He was, and
He
back
looks a hard bastard for sure.
he does. You wouldn't want to like to meet him in a bar, would you?
No,
But
dark alley, bar, anywhere, to be honest.
yeah, I mean, it said if you'd played against him in the 50s, you weren't leaving with a win or a loss. You were leaving with bruised and broken shins. But
Yeah.
apparently, he was very polite, a polite executioner. Apparently,
That's the thing. That's a bit of a theme amongst these. Like, it's kind of like once they cross the white line. Like, I've heard this been said about Stuart Pearce as well. Like, lovely fella off the pitch, but absolute fucking lunatic on the pitch. So
yeah,
I think this is a bit of a theme. Like,
he is supposed to be really nice, Stuart Pearce.
that's what I've heard. Yeah. So
he's quite soft spoken as well.
Yeah, no, he is indeed. From what I've seen now, anyway, not like I've encountered Stuart Pearce and travels around like that.
I'm sure if you met him in a pub and called him a wanker, you'd see it.
I wouldn't open with that. That's for sure.
No, it's not one you would start with, is it? We've got Ian Bishop. He wasn't a typical bastard. He was a smooth bastard for me. He was kind of one of them flamboyant players, like he used to do shithousery stuff. Like back in the day when it weren't all flash as it is now, he would do the like no look pass. Apparently, he used to stare defenders in their eyes as he was passing it and smile at them. just kind of really
unsettled them. That sounds unsettling.
I've heard a story, and I'm not sure it's 100% true, but I heard a story that he was once sharing a flat with another one of the West Ham players. I don't know who it was. I heard this story years ago in a cafe, so it might not even be true. But I heard that back then, two men living together wasn't a thing. So everyone was. So this other lad that he was staying with said to him, "Listen, all the boys are calling us gay. They're all saying we're gay." So he goes, "All right, well, tell me all of their names." And then he went off, and then he come back the next day and he said, "Right, they're not going to call us gay anymore." And he goes, "Oh, what'd you do? How do you know?" And he goes, "I just slept with all their wives." I mean, that's the kind of person. He's a bit of a maverick.
He looks like a maverick. I like the hair. It's well captured in that picture.
He does look like a maverick. We got John Monker. Again, he was the first player in Premier League history to be booked in 5 consecutive games.
That's good going. I like that.
That's not to be sniffed at.
Not to be sniffed at.
Nope. And apparently in training, he got on the wrong side of McCloskey. He was smashing balls at him from point blank range, while Ludo was still putting his gloves on, and Ludo snapped and chased him. Monker just kept egging him on and like laughing at him and stuff while he was running away. And he was just winding everyone up. And he said he has said before that if training wasn't spicy enough, he'd just go 2 foot on someone, just go 2 foot up on someone in training.
Yeah.
So,
that's like I don't think training protocols will be these days would approve of that,
No. He apparently he said he loved the madness, and if there wasn't a flare up during the game, it didn't feel like there had been a game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, I watched a video with I think it was a few weeks. Oh my god! I thought I might have frozen on the stream there for a second, but I'm back. But I was watching a video with 𝗕𝗂𝗁𝗁 Hislop and Don Hutchinson. They're just kind of laughing about like whenever Moncur came on, like it was like his job to get a yellow card within like the next like 30 seconds. It was like part of his like routine of getting up to speed with the game is just getting an immediate yellow card. Like,
yeah, he was one of them. He was one of them players as well. Like he knew he had a job and he liked doing the job.
Yeah,
he liked doing the job. We've got another one who liked doing his job, John Hartson, and another one just looks like an absolute bastard as well, doesn't he?
100%. Didn't he boot someone in the head during training? Didn't he?
Yeah, he did. During training.
I saw the footage of it actually. It wasn't like what you'd expect from a boot to the head. I think the footage was leaked. Like it was like a volley. Like it was a proper like volley.
Yeah,
There was a good
timed it.
technique. Like it was, I can't remember the player it was against, but I remember being some connection.
Yeah, it was 𝗕𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he kicked him in the head. And then, Berkovic punched him when he was on the floor. And apparently, it was he just absolutely showed no remorse. It looked like something like Street Fighter, didn't it? Like,
it was like Mortal Kombat, like finish him, like they could have had that as a finishing move for someone, like the volley to the head, like top corner, like
Yeah, and it also, like when he went up for corners and that, he'd be elbowing goalkeepers in the ribs and stuff like that.
Total like dark art business, like getting all those little nooks and crannies, getting those elbows in, like
Yeah, he's another one. His autobiography again. I just saw read it was a moment of madness that followed me everywhere. Speaking about the volley, the volley on the head.
Yeah, well, I think he's. I looked it up there. I think it was earlier, and it was like there's loads of different videos like of him like talking through what happened and all the rest. So it's clearly followed him. It's followed him around, that story. That's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely has. I've also got 𝗕𝗀𝗃𝗁𝘀 on here.
Yeah, last but not least, I suppose 𝗕𝗀𝗃𝗁𝘀. Like I think it makes a whole pile of sense. He definitely kind of fits into all of the above, like the kind of lunatic, that kind of extreme passion. I think moments Maverick as well would kind of match his, I think, characteristics as well.
Definitely, he would. I mean, the fact that he jumped into the crowd and booted a supporter, pushing a referee over. I mean, you could just go on. You could just. I mean, even after the game finished, he got himself all muddled up in some pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like some of his takes, I wouldn't necessarily go along with. I don't think some of his views controversial might be the way to describe it.
Yeah.
In the kindest way possible. Questionable views, but a good player on the pitch.
Yeah, he was. And even when he went into management, like he just he was too mean for any modern players now, and it kind of shows. You can kind of tell. But I think that is a shout there, by the way. I think that is.
I think to round it out, we'll have Big Sam, manage this team. Combustible would be the way I might describe this team.
Yeah, that last one on the pitch. Who was it that went down on the tackle and he was just standing there, just pissing himself while they were on the floor, screaming for a free kick? I bet him, Alan Pardew as well, though. Do you remember Alan Pardew dancing in front of the Arsenal supporters?
Alan Pardew, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but like he's a bit of like I don't know how to describe, but Alan Pardew is he's a questionable individual.
I heard again, unconfirmed, but I heard that he fell out with one of the players because he was shagging his wife. Like, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that, and he looks like the kind of bloke who was out there doing his thing.
Yeah, I've heard a few stories about him. Like I heard I've heard a lot of stories like him referring to himself in various different ways, like describing himself. He liked himself, put it that way.
Yeah. Chico, that's it. Yeah, it was Swansea, wasn't it? We was playing Swansea. Hippo Head just stood there laughing at him. I love that. Absolutely love that. But yeah, I've got a couple on the bench who've already been over. Psycho, Razor. And then I've got Frank McAvenny there, who, Frank McAvenny was in '89. Chris Kamara broke McAvenny's leg. And when Macca returned, he just went out and just fucking went for him the whole game, just hunted him down. You could just see him just hunting him down. And again, he bordered on being a criminal during that game. And he, even a quote from Frank McAvenny himself: "I wasn't an angel. I enjoyed life. I enjoyed the life. I enjoyed the scrap, and I certainly enjoyed the look on a defender's face when I beat them." So you gotta love it. It's great. It's great to kind of go over some of these bastards and just kind of think like,
yeah, exactly. Think about like
now.
Yeah, we take a couple now for sure, and hopefully, some of the guys, Taddy, as we discussed, maybe might be our bastard for the rest of the season. But I suppose we'll be doing this, I think, Ben, every Thursday from now on. Is that the plan?
Yep, that is the plan. Every Thursday, 9 till 10. We probably won't talk about bastards every week. I think we run out.
No, that's fair to say. And we've gone over our time as well, so we'll I'm more than happy to chat as long as possible. But if anyone has any ideas for what we want to talk about next time around, we're all ears. And be delighted to take some suggestions. Maybe have a Father Ted hour, maybe one week.
Oh, happily, I could talk about sitcoms all night. I could easily do that. I think the basic idea is just somewhere we can just be social, get in the comments, just fucking sidetrack us, because as you can tell, it don't take much.
No, I'm not at all. Traj, thanks a million. Yeah, cheers, it was fun. It was good crack. I really enjoyed it. And
yeah, he did fresh. You're right. He did dance in front of the United supporters before Lingard got the winner.
Yeah, that was the one. So I suppose will we call it there?
Yep, we'll call it there. Nice one, Fresh. Thanks for staying in. He was the first one in.
Yeah, first one in, the Irishman as well. So stuck around for the whole thing. Fair play to him.
Yep, it's much appreciated, guys. There's only 20 people watching us now, so on YouTube. So thank you for staying and hanging on in there.
Yeah, thanks.
Hit like on the way out. Yep, that's it. Don't forget to hit like button on the way out.
Yeah, there you go. Hit that like in a big way.
And obviously, let us know in the comments what you want us to talk about next Thursday. And yeah, thanks for joining in, and thank you, Connor. Thanks, Ben.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Perfect. Good night, guys. Thanks a lot.
See you, everyone.
Take care.